Hello, and thank you for joining me. This is another thought for the day coming from Larbert Baptist Church. It is Wednesday, the 20th of October. Now, this day week, back on the 13th, I spoke very briefly about a very emotive subject which concerns especially Christian parents. I alerted a lot of you to the fact of what was going on in the curriculum here in Scotland, and it seemed to have come as some sort of a surprise or news to you. And it did mean that we got some positive feedback from what was said. Now, by all means, go back and review the video if you haven't already seen it. It's just about 6 minutes long, and as I said, it was posted on Wednesday the 13th of this month of October. Now, it seems to have taken a lot of you, as I said, by surprise, and you did not know, for example, and you thanked me for alerting you to the fact that our children, through the curriculum in the schools here in Scotland, they're trying to embed in the curriculum the values of the LGBTQ community. And our children are being exposed to these particular views day and daily. I did suggest in last week's post that if we tried to do the same with Christian values, well then there would be an almighty uproar. How dare we try to impose Christian principles and values on our young people? Yet it's perfectly all right, seemingly, to expose them to LGBTQ values, a lot of which are not biblical or Christian at all. Anyway, it reminded me of a text, actually, when I think of what's going on to our young people. And I turned up Matthew 18, verses 6 and 7. And there it's the Lord Jesus Christ himself who is speaking. And he says, "Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Woe to the world because of offences. Offences must come, but woe to that man by whom the offence comes." Now those words are quite hard-hitting, they're quite severe. We sometimes don't appreciate that the Lord Jesus Christ was just as stern or as strict as this, but he's saying quite clearly that if we're leading young ones astray, it would be better for us that a millstone were hung around our necks and we were drowned in the depth of the sea. In other words, the Lord Jesus Christ is saying, hands off our young people. And I thought that text was appropriate when we consider, certainly in Scotland, what we are doing and how we are indoctrinating our young children. Hopefully the trend will be reversed. But that's not the only thing that's going on in society that concerns a lot of us. I've just come from our weekly prayer meeting, and we had a list of things to pray for that are going on in our country, in our community, in our society, and very little is being said about them. They're almost going unnoticed, going under the radar, as it were. Now, I'll just tell you a few of these items because I think as Christians we should be praying against these things that are going on and these bills which are being introduced into our Parliament. We need strong, godly government, and that seems to be sadly lacking at the moment. So what's going through Parliament? What are we to expect? Well, there's this assisted suicide bill as well. Now this has again been bubbling under for quite some time. They've tried to bring it forward and get it passed in times past, but it just hasn't had the support. But no doubt these things, they'll keep trying, they'll keep knocking until the door opens, as it were. But this assisted suicide bill, it's basically putting pressure on people who feel that they're a burden or feel that they're too unwell to get better or to get help. There's a pressure being applied to them because now they know that this could be a possibility, that they can be assisted in killing themselves. Again, a far cry from what Christian society and Christian values would say. We're told, thou shalt not kill, do not murder, and that applies to ourselves as well as to other people. So again, please pray that this assisted suicide bill will not get the support to get through and be passed into law. It's like opening the door a little bit. Once it's opened and there's a foot in the door, it'll be flung wide open, and well, who knows where we're going to end up with euthanasia and so forth. So there's another vulnerable group we need to pray for. The vulnerable group of those who are elderly, infirm, ill, and feel pressurised to end their own life. The vulnerable group also of young people and children who are being exposed to unchristian values through our education system. And of course, the ongoing vulnerability of the unborn child is under attack as well. They're looking to relax even more the rules on abortion. Some even talking about allowing abortion right up until the point of birth. This is law in other countries. Abortion is allowed right up until the point of birth. So there's no protection at all. There's no rights given to the unborn child. They are extremely vulnerable, and we need to pray for them as well. So there's lots of things there that are happening in society. We've just had again the terrible news about the murder of the MP who was in his surgery. He was taking appointments, he was seeing people, and someone came in and stabbed him. The second MP to be murdered in not so distant past. So there you have the state of our country. We don't want to get into a situation where anarchy rules, where people are going around doing whatever they want. Somebody said in our prayer meeting this evening that we were reminded of the days of the judges in Old Testament times when there was no king in Israel and everybody did what was right in their own eyes. There didn't seem to be any governance, any law and order, and we don't want to descend into that situation again. Now you may think that's a wee bit over the top, maybe a wee bit of scaremongering, but friends, it does not take very much for us to be tipped over the edge, to reach that tipping point and we fall into anarchy, because all sorts of rules and regulations are being disregarded. There is sin and wickedness and evil everywhere we look. The power and influence of Christians and the Christian church seems to be waning, and what we need to do is pray for a revival amongst ourselves, in our country and society. Throughout the world, we need people to be reawakened to the value of obeying the Lord and the principles that he lays down for us. So will you pray, please, with me for the tide of ungodliness which seems to be sweeping across certainly the Western world. We want to see this tide of ungodliness turned back on itself. And we just ask ourselves, when we hear of these values being imposed upon our children, when we think of the principle of assisted suicide, when we think of the vulnerability of the unborn child, I just wonder how much further society can fall. How low do we have to go before the pendulum starts to swing back and people will realise that we really are on the wrong road and doing an awful lot of damage to ourselves, our young people, those who are vulnerable, but to the country around us generally. So please, there's plenty to pray for there. That's what we have been praying about as a leadership team, as elders, as deacons, as a church generally. We are praying for the vulnerable people, the people that the Lord Jesus Christ would come alongside and comfort and strengthen and heal and lift up. That's what we should be doing as Christians and as a Christian society. Lifting people up, not preying on their vulnerability to do terrible things to them. We will reap what we are sowing. So we would need to turn around and try our best, pray our hardest, and serve our utmost to make sure that we don't descend any further than we already have. So please join me in prayer, ongoing prayer for these things, and hopefully we'll see the tide turn and the situation get a little better. Remember that verse in Matthew 18 as well. What will happen to those who cause little ones to stray? Okay, thank you for listening. Please keep praying, and I look forward to chatting to you again soon. So until then, I'll give you once again another bye for now.